Hello, my name is A Big Bubble, and I sometimes go by the name of Simon, and this is a list. This is what all the cool kids are doing at the moment. It happens every year for me. Well, this is the first time I'm actually putting it onto a video. But generally, I like to think of a list for my top 10 games as something being along the lines of these are the games that really stood out to me in 2017. These are games that I've played numerous times and that I probably still want to play more of. What this means, however, is that it's not just games from 2017. A lot of these games may have come from 2015 or even earlier than that, but they just had a lot of lasting power or staying power. And these are the games I kind of really enjoyed this year, and that's why they're on the list. So, before that being said, let's just get started. At number 10 is Lisboa by Vita Lacerda. This is his fourth game, if I'm not mistaken. He did CO2, he did Vinhurst, he did The Gallerist, and now it's Lisboa. I'm probably missing a game out there. But this is a fantastic Euro game, all about action selection. You're trying to rebuild the city of Lisboa after it got devastated by a whole bunch of earthquakes and droughts and flooding. And in it, you're trying to appease various officials to get them onto your side so you can build various buildings and reconstruct the city itself. What's nice is the game has a lot of sandboxy elements to it, so you can kind of choose where you want to go to. So if maybe you want to pursue ships, that could be your strategy, or maybe you want to pursue buildings, but you have to plan out where you want those buildings to actually go because they're going to either give you a lot of points or they could give your enemies a lot of points. The game plays really nicely, though there are some finagly bits of like you have to remember the one action can do three things at once almost. It's not as easy as the other two games, Finhost and The Gallerist, which I kind of prefer at this point, but this game has surprised me a lot and I do think it's worthy of the title, and I think this is going to be on a lot of people's top 10 lists. It's a really heavy Euro game, but I think it's got a lot of staying power and a lot of depth to it. At number 9, it's Arboretum by Dan Cassar. This is a game that surprised me. I picked it up early this year. It's been out of print for about 2 years now. So I was surprised when I got it. And it's just a lovely, lovely card game. You're simply trying to make these pathways through an arboretum of trees of various numbers going from 1 to 8. And they will then score you points. The only way they score you points, though, is you also have to have the trees in your hand at the end of the game. So you kind of trying to like choose maybe 3 such trees to actually score points on. But at the same time, you have to constantly discard cards out of your hand, which your opponent can then get as well. So you have this wonderful kind of bait mechanic where you're trying to bait your opponent into taking certain cards, knowing full well that he won't be able to then score those trees at a later date. The game plays fairly fast. You can get it done in about 30 minutes, and it scales very nicely. 2 players is great, 3 players is great, 4 players is great, and the artwork's lovely. The trees are simply stunning. It's such a nice filler game for me, really. It's such a nice affair to have. I want to play more. As soon as I put it onto the list, I'm like, I want to play this game again. And so I'll probably bring it to next games night and just try it out again. Number 8 is Taluva. This is by Marcel-André's Casasola Merkle. I hope I said that correctly. This is a game that's been on my radar for quite a while. It had a Kickstarter back, I think 2 years ago. And I finally noticed that the Eagle Griffin was selling one of their deluxe copies, which is essentially the Kickstarter one. This takes the game from being a very small, kind of like quick tile playing game, and they kind of just supersized it. So all the wooden pieces are huge, the tiles themselves are huge. And in this game, it's an abstract game. You essentially are putting down tiles and then placing wooden buildings out on those tiles, and you're trying to get rid of 2 types of buildings. So you got your villages, you got your towers, you got your temples, and you also have boats. And you're trying to get rid of 2 sets of those things. How the game works is fantastic. It's a very simple game, but it has a very abstract element of just trying to plan out your moves so that you're going to maybe cut someone off. You might want to try and build them into a situation where they can't do anything, or if they are going to do anything, it's going to help you. It's such a beautiful design when it all comes together. The game starts off a bit slowly, but when it comes to the end, the board just looks beautiful. There's like this wonderful island that's been built full of these wooden pieces. It's an absolutely incredible game. And it's, again, a nice, fun filler. It might be a bit heavy, and I'm not talking about the gameplay, but I'm talking about the box itself. It's quite a heavy box. So it's difficult to kind of unpack it all. But to be fair, it still looks incredible when it is in that deluxe form. Number 7 is Arkham Horror, the card game by Nate French and Matthew Newman. This is the card game of Arkham Horror, in which you are investigators trying to uncover various mysteries in the Cthulhu or the H.P. Lovecraft universe. You are going to be able to build up your character, give them certain special abilities, and it all forms in a deck of cards. And what's cool about the deck of cards is you can customize it after each game, and maybe your characters will level up and you'll be able to get new cards or just upgrade your existing cards. But you also have weaknesses that might show up at the worst possible times, causing you crippling fear. It's a really nice co-op game, and it's perfect for couples. I enjoy playing this with my one friend because he's really into the whole Cthulhu type stuff. So he's kind of playing as these characters, and I'm just kind of going along for the ride. But the game itself is very solid. A lot of the problems that Arkham Horror had, or that Eldritch Horror has, was that it kind of didn't make sense thematically or narratively, I should say. The storytelling wasn't that great. In Arkham Horror, you could essentially like discover the Necronomicon, and it was like, wait, how did I do that? It didn't really make sense. Whereas because of the way the game is made, all these adventures are kind of pre-scripted, or obviously they have an arc to them. And so you're essentially our actors playing in that arc. But what's great is you can't lose the game. You just might have a different outcome. So it really is almost a role-playing game, but it does play really nicely and kind of just gets you fully involved into that Cthulhu mythos thing without being an overly heavy or overly complex or overly fiddly game, which the Arkham Horror and the Eldritch Horror games tend to be. Really nice. I can't wait to see what they do with the game. I know they're going to be bringing out expansions, and I'm probably going to keep buying it until they stop. It's just a wonderful game. And of course, in 10 years' time, I'll probably break it up with my wife, and we'll probably play through it again. Fantastic. Number 6, Terra Mystica by Jens Drögemüller and Helge Ostertag. I mean, what is there to say about Terra Mystica? It is a staple Euro game of basically terraforming a landscape to suit your player's needs. You're trying to do certain actions at certain points in the round, because each round will demand you to do something else. It might demand you to build a stronghold, or it might demand you to build a temple this round, or it might demand you to build houses this round. So you're constantly trying to plan out what your actions are going to be doing each round, and there's nothing more satisfying than having your turns come together and you finish the game with exactly no money and no workers left, and all your buildings are out on the board. It's such a beautiful game. I'm still skeptical about its upcoming Big Brother Gaia project, but Clans of Caledonia has arrived in my possession, so I can't wait to give that a shot, and that's supposed to be the Terra Mystica of our time. But still, Terra Mystica has been wonderful this year to play. I must have gone into the table about 4 times, and every time it was a very enjoyable experience. But again, I do enjoy my Euros, so it's no surprise. Number 5, speaking of Euros, is Feast for Odin. This is by Rosenburg. Feast for Odin. This is Rosenburg's probably one of his best titles to date. I still rate Agricola very highly, and Caverna a close second to it. I think Feast for Odin might be taking over that second place spot, because for me this game is wonderful. It's a worker placement game, but it has a Tetris or Polymino style element to it, in which you are constantly placing down tiles in a certain grid pattern to try and get bonuses, and that's the main object of the game. So all your worker actions are going to give you different tiles that you have to then place onto your board, and it kind of has a nice puzzle element to it. I do kind of see where it wants to go. I enjoy each time I play it, but each time I play it I kind of want to go, it's fine, but I kind of want to just go back to Agricola and Caverna, and I think it might be because the puzzle element isn't puzzly enough for me. I think it might be because a lot of the tiles are just simply square tiles or simply rectangle tiles, so they don't really work that part of my brain that's like, okay, well, I can put that there and I can put that there, and like, oh, it doesn't do that to the extent I want it to be. That being said, however, I still thoroughly enjoy this game. Each time I'll play this game, I want to try something different. I might go for like a farming strategy, or I might go for a wading strategy in which you're trying to capture whales, or I might be trying to go for a hunter strategy and try and fill up my cabins full of pelts, or I might just go for a trader, get a whole bunch of stuff and then trade it in for even better stuff to fill up my board with. So the game has tremendous replayability for it, and of course it's a big game. You just get so much in the box. It's wonderful. I think it's one of Rosenburg's best design, and I think it might be like the second coming for him. I think this might be the start of his next great series of board games, hopefully. Number 4 is no surprise to anyone who's been on this channel for a while, and that is Concordia. I've probably played it about, I want to say 10 times this year. It is still one of the absolutely fantastic Euro games that is simple to teach but difficult to master. I've introduced this to so many of my friends, and every single one of them have enjoyed it to some extent. But what's great is the game is just so easy to play. You have a deck of cards or a hand of cards, and these are your actions that you can take. And of course, you can go for different strategies. I will say though, the scoring mechanic can sometimes be a bit hard to overcome if you're the first time player, because you don't really understand how things score. But everything else works so nicely. If you want to build a building, you simply just play the one card of the colonist, and then you do that action. Really, really fantastic game. And it's a nice light Euro, but it has a lot of depth to it. I can't say enough good things about it, and I still want to play more games of this. At number 3 is Santorini. This is by Gordon Hamilton, and this is one of my favorite abstract games ever. This came out early in 2017 by Roxley Games, and in it you're simply just trying to build the island of Santorini. You have workers who will move each turn onto a different spot, and then they will build a piece of the towers, essentially trying to form the island of Santorini. So again, it's very similar to things like chess or checkers in that regard. But what's incredible about the game is that you have these god cards, and these god cards give you tremendous power in how you play. One god card might be that you can move as many spaces as you want, or another card might be that if your character jumps down 2 stories, you also win the game. And that's what I like so much about it. I don't like chess because chess is kind of, you have to know everything in order to be the best at this. In Santorini, it's making the right decisions at the right time and trying to complement that with your god power. A lot of times those god powers are actually traps, and you can kind of get yourself flustered or in a bad position. And so what happens is you have these variable powers that will constantly change up the state of play, so you never know that, okay, this is the perfect move I should make. It never is like that. It's only once you get to the end of the game where you kind of like nudge yourself into a corner and you think, oh, okay, well, I'm pretty sure I have to do that one. Anyway, this is such a fantastic abstract game. I can't say enough about it. My friend wants to get it because she's now heavily invested into this thing, and she likes games, but she absolutely, every time I see her, she just wants to play this game again, and that's such a good statement for what this game is. It's simple to teach, and it has so much going for it. And number 2, again, not something that would surprise a lot of people if they've been on the channel for long enough, and that is Runewars, the miniatures game by Andrew Pfister. This is, well, probably one of the best tabletop miniatures games I've played in a very long time. It's simple to learn, it doesn't have a lot of rules, but there's a lot of depth behind it. The gameplay itself is simple. You're essentially going to program your actions for each of your units, and then they're going to perform those actions. But how those actions work together is incredible. You might try and, say, perform a charge attack, and then all of a sudden your opponent is going to retreat his units. Or you might land that charge attack before him, and all of a sudden his retreating units can't retreat because they're currently engaged with units. The models themselves are beautifully put together. I will say though, I kind of wish there was a bit more support in my area for the game. It doesn't have, I think like the last tournament I went to, there was about 8 players, and that kind of doesn't feel like enough. And I think it might be because Fantasy Flight aren't pushing the game hard enough. It's kind of more a tabletop game for board gamers rather than a tabletop game for war gamers. War gamers will tend to prefer the Warhammer stuff. I think this is such an incredible system for a tabletop game. It really is the combination of all their things they learned from X-Wing and Star Wars Armada, and they've put it into this package now. It's generic fantasy, but hey, I love every single element of it. I love every single miniature that has come in this game, and I do want to get more. However, finances are a bit tight at the moment, so I'll have to wait and see. But if you want to get into tabletop miniature gaming, this is probably the best place to start. It's a wonderful game, and I think I've probably played it about 10 times so far this year. Absolutely incredible. And of course, at number 1, Great Western Trail by Alexander Pfister. This was surprising for me. I didn't think I would like it as much as I did, but I've probably played this quite heavy Euro game a good 7-8 times now, to the point where I can probably get done in about an hour and a half or so. But the game is fun. It's such a good time. You essentially are trying to take your cows and guide them up this trail to Kansas. But at the same time, you're going to be trying to build up the trail itself by upgrading buildings and getting new buildings out there. And that's going to give you more actions to do. But your opponent's also going to be doing that. So you now have to try and figure out where his buildings are going to go and how you're going to maybe change up your route to avoid those buildings because you might get taxed. You want to try and grab the different cows, but in order to do so, you have to grab different employees. But you also want to try and get rid of your employees because they're going to give you a special bonus. And if you do that, you can then get the bonus again. There's a lot going for this game. It plays well when you have Western music kind of blaring in the background. But it's just so wonderfully designed. Every action you take feels rewarding. The card play is sometimes a bit dicey in terms of like you might not get the cards you want, or sometimes you just get stuck with a really bad hand and you have no way of changing that. But the amount of directions you can go for, and also it's going to change based on how many players. If it's 4 players, it's going to be quite a long game. It might be a bit more closer to 3 hours. And if you play a 3-player game, it might be closer to 2 hours. But then you kind of have to go for different strategies because as people get to Kansas, the game slowly gets to the end point in which the game will then end. The more people obviously get into Kansas faster, the faster the game goes. So it feels like a race, but you still have enough time to form a very solid strategy going for it. But yeah, Great Western Trail, probably one of my favorite games of the year. I played it, 3 times, immediately bought a copy after that. I'm so happy with it. I do want expansions for it. I want to see a different kind of board layout. I want to see maybe more cows. I want to see more buildings with special effects going on. I just want to have more of this game, and I think it's such a great design. And it makes me just want to see what else Alexander Pfister is doing. He did Mombasa, which is another favorite game of mine. So yeah, really, really impressed with Great Western Trail. And that's it for my collection. Well, that's it for the games of 2017, which I think are the best. Again, it's not only games from 2017. A lot of it was old school games. But all these games I've just enjoyed a lot. It's games that I've played 3 or 4 times now over the course of the year. And every time I just want to be like, you know what, that was a really, really fun experience. And I'm pretty sure this is going to change. I'm pretty sure next year there's going to be games that are coming out of Essen now, which are going to be like, this is a fantastic game. It's amazing. But these are still really good games. Every single one of these can be a game that can be added to your collection. Don't know about you, but I'm happy with my list. I would love to see what games you've put onto your top 10 list of 2017. And maybe you disagree. Maybe you don't think Great Western Trail deserves to be here. Maybe it isn't the game you're looking for. But again, let me know in the comments. And of course, if you have enjoyed these kind of videos, remember to leave a like. And of course, subscribe to see more. I'm going to try to do weekly videos of this all the time. Anyway, thank you so much. Bye.